What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are getting into something that the entire internet has been talking about for years, but nobody has actually sat down and broken down properly. And that is this: why won't Leonardo DiCaprio date a woman his own age? Now, before anyone says this is just gossip or celebrity drama, hear me out, because when you actually look at the full picture, the full history, the pattern that has been going on for literally 3 decades, this is one of the most fascinating and honestly kind of wild stories in all of Hollywood, and there is way more to it than just a meme. So let us get into it. First, let me lay out the facts, because I think a lot of people know the general idea but have not seen the full timeline laid out in one place. Leonardo DiCaprio is 51 years old. He has been one of the most famous men on the planet since 1997, and in that entire time, nearly 30 years of being at the absolute top of Hollywood, the average age of a DiCaprio girlfriend across his entire dating history is 22.9 years old, not 25, not 28, 22.9. Someone on Reddit made a chart of this a few years back. They graphed his age against his girlfriend's ages over 2 decades, and the lines go in completely opposite directions. He gets older every year. They stay exactly the same age. The chart went viral because it was funny, but also because it was genuinely kind of shocking when you saw it all laid out visually like that. So let me walk you through the actual history so you can see exactly what I mean. It starts in 1994. DiCaprio was 20 years old and dating Bridget Hall, who was 17. Early days, both young, not that remarkable on its own. Then, Gisele Bündchen. They started dating in 2000 when she was 20 years old. They stayed together until 2005, nearly 6 years, and she was his date to the Oscars that year. When they broke up, she was 25. Then Bar Raffaele. She was 11 years younger than him. They dated on and off for around 6 years. When things finally ended, she was in her mid-20s. Then Blake Lively, spotted together in 2011, short-lived romance, called it quits within the year. She was in her early 20s. Then Nina Egdahl. They were reportedly having fun at her 25th birthday party. A few months later, the relationship was over. Then Camilla Morrone. He dated her from 2017 until 2022. She was 23 years his junior. They broke up shortly after her 25th birthday. Do you see the pattern yet? Because every single time, visual without exception, the relationship ends right around the time the woman turns 25. It is so consistent and so precise that it stopped being a coincidence a long time ago. It became such a well-known pattern that when Amy Schumer co-hosted the Oscars in 2022, she made a joke about it live on stage in front of millions of people. She said, "Leonardo DiCaprio is doing so much for the planet, he will leave it in a better shape for his girlfriends." The whole room laughed because everyone knew exactly what she was talking about. Then at the Emmy Awards that same year, Kenan Thompson said happy birthday to Zendaya and added, "26 is a weird age in Hollywood. You are old enough to play a high schooler, but too old to date Leonardo DiCaprio." When your dating habits become punchlines at 2 separate major award shows in the same year, that tells you something. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because right now in 2026, the pattern has technically been broken. Leo is currently dating Vittoria Soretti, a 27-year-old Italian supermodel. They have been together since 2023 and have a 23-year age gap. She is 27, he is 51, and not only are they still together, they just went to the Oscars together in March 2026, which is a massive deal. DiCaprio walked the red carpet solo, but Soretti was seated next to him inside the ceremony. The cameras kept cutting to them during Conan O'Brien's monologue when he joked about DiCaprio being the king of memes. Both of them laughed and smiled about it, and sources are now saying that this relationship feels genuinely different and more serious, that he sees a serious future with her, that he is more openly affectionate with Vittoria than friends have ever seen him with any previous girlfriend. So is the pattern finally broken? Has Leonardo DiCaprio grown out of it? Maybe. But let us not get ahead of ourselves. She is still 27 years old, still over 2 decades younger than him, and we have heard things were getting serious before. So the real question, the title of this video is asking, why? Why has this been the pattern for 30 years? There are a few different theories, and honestly, I think the truth is probably a combination of all of them. The first theory is the power and control angle. This is the one a lot of people go to, and it is not hard to understand why. When you are one of the most powerful men in Hollywood and you date someone who is 22 years old and completely new to that world, the power dynamic is massively unequal. You are the famous one, you are the wealthy one, you are the one with the connections and the experience and the status, and some people believe that is exactly the point, that DiCaprio gravitates towards situations where he holds all the cards. The second theory is simpler. He just likes what he likes and has the fame and resources to always have access to it. He is attracted to a certain type. Young, model-esque, often European. And at his level of celebrity, there is never a shortage of that. So he just keeps doing what he has always done because nobody and nothing has ever made him stop. The third theory, and this one is actually more interesting to me, is that DiCaprio is fundamentally afraid of commitment. He has never been married. He has never come close to being married. He has been in relationships for years at a time and always found a way out before they could become something more permanent. And some people argue that dating significantly younger women is part of that strategy. because a relationship with a large age gap is always going to have a built-in expiry date. It is almost never going to turn into marriage and children and forever. And maybe that is exactly what he wants, because here's the thing about Leo that people forget. He became the biggest star in the world at 22 years old with Titanic. He has spent his entire adult life being chased, desired, put on a pedestal. He has literally never had to grow up in the way most people do. He has never had to compromise or adjust or meet someone as an equal in the way a real long-term relationship demands. And when you have lived like that for 30 years, why would you change it? Now, I want to be fair here for a second, because the conversation around this is not always as simple as people make it. All of these women were adults. None of them were forced into anything. Some of them have spoken publicly about their relationships with Leo, and none of them have described anything predatory or harmful. Camilla Morone herself said in an interview, "There are so many relationships in Hollywood and in the history of the world where people have large age gaps. I just think anyone should be able to date who they want to date." And that is a valid point. Two consenting adults can date whoever they want. Age gap relationships exist everywhere, and many of them are completely healthy and fine. But here is the other side of that. The pattern is so precise and so consistent that it raises legitimate questions. It is not just that he likes younger women, it is that the relationships appear to end at a very specific age threshold almost every single time. That is not a preference, that is a rule. And when someone has that rigid a rule about the women they will be with at 51 years old, that says something about how they see those women, not as people who grow and change and deserve a partner who grows with them, but as a type to be rotated out when they stop fitting the mold. And now here we are in 2026, and the whole world is watching to see if Vittoria Soretti is finally the one who breaks the pattern for real. She has spoken publicly about the relationship for the first time, telling Vogue France that if what you are experiencing is real, if you know you love each other, then there is no reason to be alarmed, because love protects and gives confidence. That is someone who believes in what they have, and maybe she is right, maybe this one is different. Maybe at 51, Leo has finally found someone he is willing to grow with instead of grow away from. But the Reddit chart is still there. The history is still there. And 30 years of a pattern does not disappear because of one relationship. The real answer to why Leonardo DiCaprio will not date a woman his own age is probably this: because he never had to. Because fame and power and money meant he never had to face the thing that most people face eventually. The moment where you have to show up as a real person, vulnerable and equal, and see if someone still wants to be with you. That is the hardest thing in the world, and it is the one thing all that fame and money cannot buy you out of forever. Drop a comment. Do you think Vittoria is the one who finally changes everything? Or do you think the pattern comes back? I genuinely want to know what you think. Subscribe if you are new here. We do videos like this every single week. I will see you in the next one.